Welcome to the weekly NQ analysis. This is Saturday, August 6th. Let's start with the calendar of events going into August 8th. I do see PPI and CPI continuing into Fed balance sheet. So not much bigger events. Let's look at the charts and see how the charts look like. I want to start with the 3-year weekly here. You can clearly see on the weekly, and I want to zoom in here. You can clearly see on the weekly there's a breakout from in the weekly channel, and let me draw that channel here, and that's how the channel looks like, and that's our breakout in the weekly. And here our immediate resistance is at 31,605, so we will put a resistance bar there, and support would be 12,845. So let's make it an even number of 13,000 right around here. So 12,890, that's good. I'm going to clear up this channel so that we can see a little bit more clearly how things look like. Let's dive into an hourly. Before I do that, on a weekly basis it's getting into the overbought area, but let's dive into daily and hourly and see if things change perspective wise. This has been our previous supply area, and it sold off from that supply area. It tried to break that and formed some more accumulation before it sold off. This time it was able to break that bottom resistance, so that is definitely our support now. And on the daily, if you see 13,051 is where it had the topping tail and it rejected that area, so we'll leave it at 12,890 till we get into the hourly to see the levels that we should trade from. Let's look at the 4-hourly first, and I'm searching and scanning for some gap fills here and see if there are any gaps that we need to fill here. Can't see much in our 4-hourly, so let's jump into our volume wise. We are definitely not strong on buying volume, at least on the 4-hourly. Let's look into our hourly charts here. It's very interesting on hourly, so we'll move our join, or actually rather than move in, we will see what's doing in hourly. So there is a gap fill here on the hourly at 13,325. That's definitely needs to be filled. So the market did gap down, tried to close that gap, really could not close that gap, and it sold off from there. And as you can see, pretty much the market did not come anywhere near the open and closed higher. This green line here and this red line here are the previous day range. Just eyeballing that range, I can say that was 13,180, that is 13,340, so 200 points, less than 200 points, around 180 points. That's 13,308, and that is 13,084, so 300 points. So the range has increased on the NQ. And pattern wise, if you see here, we can draw some trend lines here or channels. It's still going up in the channel wise, so not clear pattern here, but as compared to ES, I still do see here a bear channel formation. And these are some classic ways of trading here. If you can see from the previous day, wherever the bottom was, the market came down to that bottom here. That was at 13,199. Tested the from the open, it went up, got rejected there, went up from there, went all the way up to close the gap, came down from here, tested the open again but got rejected, and hence, as you can see here, is the classic entry of going long and at least targeting your first profit is at 13,200, so you can go long at somewhere 13,125 and target 13,200, and that would be a good trade. But going into next week, there is again quite a bit of choppiness forming here. There is no clear directions, but this topping tail. Let's do some trend lines here. As you can see, this is squeezing here, and it can go up or it can go down. We have to determine that on the price action. I would have loved this gap to be filled, which is really did not fill that gap here. So ideally, if it breaks out, so that would be an area where I would like to take a short here. So that is 13,335. So let's add a, so somewhere around 13,325 to 13,350 area, because it's NQ, so it's quite volatile. So that's one area where I'd like to take a short. And from there short, my first target will be definitely this resistance here, which is 13,240. Sorry, that's a support, not a resistance. So if it breaks this resistance, it becomes a support, so I would target that as my first target. If the price breaks out and closes that gap, then I'll try my short with a stop loss at the top and try to take this as my target. If it doesn't break out and this is the resistance, so then I'm going to wait for a confirmation before it breaks out of this channel, so 13,200, and I will target my first target at this level of 13,066, and then obviously the gap fill down here, which is 12,932. When I'm trading from level to level, I'm not here to make the maximum amount of money. When I reach my first target, I take out almost 60% of my position, and then I leave runners. And the runners are pretty much divided into two equal positions. One runner would be trailing in NQ. I trail by around 10 to 12 points. So I trail, and if I get stopped out, I get stopped out on those one. And then the last runner, I'll leave it targeting my next level here. Now, as we talked about the upper resistance areas, if it breaks out anywhere above this 13,325, there is a gap there of 13,487. So if it breaks out of 325 area, then we are definitely targeting a 13,487, and then to this resistance area of 13,588. On an hourly basis in the NQ, it is definitely oversold, and hence I would think NQ will push next week's price up, and I'll be very cautious trading next week because there is a divergence between NQ and ES on patterns, and if NQ pushes up, then ES will also push up, and I'll be cautious with my position size. I will be keeping my position size small and trading my price action. Those are the scenarios that I'll trade going into next week. As again, keep your stop loss tight, losses small, and your profit large. Have a great swing trading for the next week. Thank you.